Welcome to the Psychology of Gambling, the podcast from Mind Over Odds, where we believe if you control your emotions, you control your outcomes.
Yeah, and today we are jumping into a really common, relatable struggle. I mean, picture this. You've had a brutal, stressful day at work.
Oh, we've all been there.
Right. You just want to check out for 20 minutes, so you reach for your phone, you load up an app, or you look for a quick thrill just to fill that mental void.
Just to decompress a little.
Exactly. You convince yourself it's a temporary distraction, but then you blink and like 3 hours have vanished. You've spent money you absolutely didn't mean to, and you're left sitting there with this hollow, heavy feeling in your chest.
And that hollow feeling is exactly what today's deep dive is about. We're calling it the invisible theft. Because, whenever society talks about problem gambling, the conversation almost always starts and stops with the bank account.
Right, the visible debt.
Exactly. We obsess over the spreadsheet. But today, our mission is to uncover how this behavior quietly steals things you can't easily see. Things like your capacity for joy, your brain's decision-making power, and even your family's emotional safety.
Wow. Okay, so it goes way deeper than just the wallet.
Way deeper. And by understanding these simple psychological concepts, you can build better daily habits and real emotional control.
I love that. So let's get into it. If the bank account is just the visible symptom, like what's actually driving this? If the brain isn't chasing the money, what is it after?
Well, to understand that, we have to look under the hood at the brain's reward system. We have to talk about dopamine.
Okay, dopamine. That's the feel-good chemical, right? Like when you eat a really good slice of pizza or something.
Yeah, people casually call it the pleasure chemical, but that's not exactly right. It's much more accurate to describe it as the motivation chemical.
Motivation.
Yeah, or anticipation. Its real job is to compel you to seek out rewards. Which brings us to this fascinating concept called the dopamine prediction error.
The dopamine prediction error. I mean, that sounds like a computer glitch.
It does, right. But it's actually a super powerful evolutionary survival mechanism. Basically, your brain releases more dopamine during the uncertainty of waiting for a reward, rather than when you actually get the guaranteed reward.
Wait, hold on. You're saying the suspense of not knowing the outcome gives you a bigger chemical rush than a guaranteed win?
Yes, exactly. Think about our ancestors foraging for food. If your brain only gave you dopamine when you actually found a berry, you'd starve during a drought because you just give up looking.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it keeps you hunting.
Right. It forces you to stay focused when things are uncertain. But modern game design completely exploits this. Whether it's a slot machine or a flashy app, they use unpredictable intervals.
So you never know when it's going to hit.
Exactly. And because of that, it triggers these massive continuous surges of dopamine while you're just anticipating the outcome. To your brain's reward center, the ventral striatum, the suspense itself becomes the reward.
Okay, I think I get this. It's kind of like modern dating or even waiting for a package in the mail.
Oh, absolutely.
Like when you're texting someone you're really interested in and you see those 3 little typing bubbles pop up.
Yes, the bubbles.
Right. The physical suspense of staring at those typing bubbles is often way more thrilling than whatever the actual message ends up saying. The maybe is intoxicating.
That is a brilliant analogy. The thrill of the maybe. And game designers know this. They mathematically engineer the games to weaponize that neurochemistry using something called a near miss.
A near miss, like when you almost win.
Exactly. Imagine a digital slot machine. You need 3 matching symbols. The wheels spin, you get 2, and that third symbol lands just a fraction of an inch away from the jackpot line. The screen flashes, celebratory jingles.
Well, wait, you still lost your money, right?
You did. But your brain doesn't process it that way. To your ventral striatum, that near miss feels like an almost win. It actually activates your reward center at 75 to 90% of the intensity of an actual win.
You're kidding, 75 to 90%. So the game is literally mathematically engineered to make your brain feel victorious even while your wallet is emptying.
Yep. It tricks your brain into celebrating a loss, which keeps you hooked. But here is where the invisible theft really kicks in.
Okay, how so?
Because your brain is being flooded with these huge artificial waves of dopamine from all those near misses, it realizes it's under attack.
Under attack from its own chemicals.
Exactly. It has to defend itself from being hyperstimulated. So it literally turns down the volume. It downregulates its own dopamine receptors.
Okay, wait, it turns down the volume? It's like, it reminds me of staring at a really bright light, And then you look away and everything else looks pitch black.
That is a perfect way to describe it. In clinical terms, we call that state anhedonia. It's an emotional flatline.
An emotional flatline. That sounds awful.
It is. Normal things that used to bring you genuine joy, eating dinner with your family, doing a hobby, just going for a walk, suddenly feel completely numb. They don't register anymore.
Wow. So people probably just retreat back into that dissociative zone of gambling just to escape the numbness.
Exactly. They need that extreme bright light just to feel anything at all. And while the reward center is flatlining, there's also physical damage happening to the prefrontal cortex.
Okay, the prefrontal cortex. What does that do?
Think of it as the brain's CEO, or like its physical brake pedal. It controls your impulses and rational thinking. But over time, the chronic stress from the gambling structurally degrades this area.
It structurally degrades, like the brain physically changes.
Yes, the white matter pathways literally break down. The person develops severe cognitive deficits where they lose the ability to learn from negative consequences.
Wait, so when society says a gambler just has like bad self-control, that's actually an incredibly unfair judgment, right? Because their brain's physical brake pedal has literally been eroded.
Totally. It is a profound structural deficit, not a moral failure. You wouldn't yell at someone for crashing a car if you knew their brake lines were cut.
Right. Man, that completely changes how you look at it. But if that brake pedal is failing and everyday joy disappears, they're going to fall deeper into the addiction, and that damage has to spill over into their real life.
It does. It spills straight out of the brain and into the living room. But really quickly, before we talk about the impact on the family, I want to say that if you or someone you know struggles with compulsive or problem gambling, free help is available 24 hours a day by calling 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yeah, that is such an important resource to have, especially when you consider the ripple effect this has on the people living in that house.
Absolutely. The collateral damage almost always hits the kids first. Having a parent with a severe gambling problem acts as an adverse childhood experience.
An ACE.
Yes,
Yeah.
an ACE. It robs children of emotional safety and predictable routines.
Because the parent is just mentally elsewhere.
Exactly. And when the parent checks out, the kid has to step up. Psychologists call it parentification. It's this pathological role reversal where children are forced to take on adult stresses just to hold their fractured family together.
Jeez. It sounds like these kids are forced to become the captains of a sinking ship. I mean, if a 10-year-old is constantly hyper-vigilant about the electric bill because of their dad's betting, how can they possibly have the mental bandwidth to just be a kid at school?
They can't. It completely stunts their emotional growth. And what's really fascinating and frankly heartbreaking is that there are distinct gender differences in how this plays out.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, maternal gambling, when the mother is struggling, is highly linked to children being left unsupervised. It's a form of domestic neglect, and those kids often develop severe adult depression later in life.
Wow. And what if it's the dad?
Paternal gambling primes the children toward behavioral modeling. Kids with a gambling father are a staggering 10.7 times more likely to develop severe problem gambling themselves as adults.
Wait, 10.7 times. It's not just a bad habit being passed down. That's like a generational curse.
It really is an intergenerational ghost in the family.
So with all of this, the brain damage, the numbness, the kids suffering, why don't people just stop? Why doesn't that just snap them out of it?
Because stopping is, ironically, the most painful part. Remember that emotional numbness, the anhedonia.
Yeah.
When someone finally stops gambling, that numbness
Oh.
starts to wear off.
Yeah.
We call it the psychological thaw. And they are suddenly hit with this crushing realization of their lost time, their eroded identity, all the money gone.
Oh, man. So it's like waking up from a decade-long coma and realizing you blew up your own life while you were asleep.
Exactly. The intense shame and self-stigma that comes with that thought is paralyzing. It traps people in secrecy. They won't ask for help because they feel like a monster.
Which is why changing how we talk about this is so critical. I know mutual aid groups like Gamblers Anonymous, they use the disease model, right?
Yes, they do. By treating it as a legitimate illness, which it is, given the structural brain changes, they help absolve that debilitating guilt. It lets the person rebuild their identity without feeling like they are inherently broken.
That makes so much sense. But, you know, the fallout isn't just at home. It has to bleed into the workplace, too.
Oh, the professional costs are massive. An active problem gambler costs employers about $1,300 per month in lost productivity.
$1,300 a month just from being distracted.
Distraction, stepping away to place bets, taking loans. But it gets darker. Because that prefrontal cortex, the brake pedal, isn't working, desperation sets in. About 50% of severe problem gamblers end up committing financially motivated crimes.
Wait, half. Half of them commit crimes.
Yes, mostly workplace embezzlement. They justify it thinking, I'll just borrow this and put it back when I win, but they never do. And that leads to permanent felony records.
That is insane. And it really makes you think about the broader picture because you always hear people say, well, at least the casinos and the betting apps fund our schools and roads with tax revenue.
Right, the classic societal defense.
Yeah. But if the actual cost in broken families, embezzlements, and lost jobs is that severe, aren't we just paying for it out of the other pocket?
We absolutely are. It's an economic fallacy. There was a comprehensive study out of Sweden that proved this.
Yeah.
They calculated the true societal cost of problem gambling. Gambling, lost productivity, emotional distress, court costs, everything.
And what did they find?
The cost to society was 1.42 billion euros. And that was more than double the tax revenue the state actually collected.
Double the revenue.
Double. So the idea that this is just a harmless way for states to collect taxes is entirely false. The true bill is paid by the community.
Wow. That really reframes the whole conversation.
It does. And as we wrap up, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over. We've talked a lot about gambling today, but consider what invisible habits in your own daily life might be mathematically engineered to hijack your dopamine.
Yeah, because it's not just casinos anymore, it's everywhere.
Exactly. Even if you don't gamble, what apps or daily routines are offering you that thrill of the maybe? Are they quietly draining your time, your emotional bandwidth, and your presence with your family?
That is definitely something to think about the next time you mindlessly reach for your phone.
Absolutely. If you found this conversation helpful today, please follow and like the show or leave us a 5-star review. It helps more people in our community find these resources. You can also visit the Mind Over Odds YouTube channel for more psychology-based insights on gambling behavior. We'll talk to you next time. Control your emotions. Control your outcomes.